envisage a situation where Vladimir Putin agrees to a ceasefire deal that sees forces from NATO nations like France and the UK actually stationed in Ukraine without him having suffered significant pressure? Like, how is that realistic?
Well, if you don't have the kind of security guarantees that we have put together in close relationship with our Ukrainian partners, with the regeneration of the Ukrainian army, with military capacity that will be in a second layer on the ground, in the sea and in the air, a backstop that the US have expressed readiness to take into account when they were in Paris on January 6th, and some legal commitment binding everything together, there is no security guarantee. And if there is no security guarantee for Ukraine, there is no security guarantee for Europe. So there will be more and more pressure until not only Russia accepts to cease fire along the lines that Andrii mentioned, but also Russia accepting that we don't want this war to restart, and that for that we need security guarantees that have no aggressive dimension, that are only there to deter further aggression.
So actually, are you saying that Russia needs to make a deal now because it's only going to get worse?
That's my feeling. I think that time is playing against the Russian nation. Of course, Vladimir Putin is apparently ready to pay a very significant price, but it's to the detriment of the Russian nation. But yes, the losses are very high at the human level, but also at the economic level. And it is in the interest of the Russian people that Vladimir Putin stops right away.
Ms. Cooper, we're talking obviously about security guarantees. How confident are you that with all the planning that's gone into what the UK and France, Netherlands, other allies are going to be contributing to this security peacekeeping multinational force, that they actually have the capacity and the capability and the willingness to be able to defend the peace against battle-hardened Russian forces who understand existential war? They've waged a war of aggression for more than a decade now. How confident are you that that Europe has the ability to hold that line, given the underfunded militaries that we are currently left with since the end of the Cold War?
So let me start by just joining Jean-Noël, the tributes to Andrii, to President Zelensky, and to the Ukrainian people for their huge courage and resilience in the face of 4 years of Russian aggression. And they, if ever there was evidence of the imbalance in the approach that's being taken now, you've seen Ukraine's commitment to peace, to the huge amount of work that has been underway with the US, but actually what we've seen from Putin is continued escalation of war. And what we've seen is the targeting of civilians and the targeting of energy infrastructure over the last few weeks, trying to plunge Ukrainian people into darkness and into cold at the worst of winter. That's families with small children, that is elderly people, as a result of Putin's targeting. And yet what we have seen is the most incredible resilience from Ukraine. And I would say I think that Putin at every stage has underestimated Ukraine and the Ukrainian people, and also underestimated the resolve of Ukraine's friends, because we know that Ukraine's security is our security. The reason that we have all been there with the support for the military support throughout the last few years, but also support for things like the energy infrastructure, is because we know that this is a threat not just to Ukraine's future, but to the future of Europe, to the future of all of us. And it's good to be sitting here with Jean-Noël, because obviously the work that Keir Starmer and President Macron have done as part of leading the coalition of the willing has been about showing you had 39 countries coming together with President Zelensky, with President Macron and Prime Minister Starmer to come together around that Paris Declaration. And I think that was a very strong commitment to the security of Ukraine and to security guarantees. Now, yes, there is an issue right across Europe that we are stepping up. We know that right across Europe we need to invest more in defence. That is the commitment we have made in the UK. That is the commitment that countries right across Europe have made. But alongside that additional investment, which is about our long-term future, even with peace, the peace that we want to see in Ukraine, there is still a long-term issue about needing to make sure that Europe can increase its defence and its resilience as well, and all of us are part of that. But I would say, just in terms of the security guarantees, the whole point about the multi-layered security guarantees that everyone has been involved in drawing up, that where there has been extensive military planning still, is all about ensuring that layered commitment to the ceasefire and monitoring, to the support for Ukraine's armed forces, to the multilateral force Ukraine that UK and France have both committed to supporting, and other countries have said they want to support as well, as part of this wider security guarantees, and then this binding commitment if Russia attacks again. The reason this is so important is because I don't think you can get to peace without that, because you need that Ukraine needs the security of knowing that this is not just a pause for Putin to rearm and then come again, because that does not deliver a just and lasting peace. It does not deliver security for anyone. So therefore we need, in order to get to the peace agreement in the first place, we need that. But the other thing we need is the much greater pressure on Putin and on the Russian regime as well, because I think you said it, Deborah, earlier on, that the evidence, I'm hugely sceptical that President Putin is committed to peace. I really hope that these talks can make progress and can get to a peace agreement, but I still think we are going to need to keep intensifying that economic pressure on Russia, including tightening the chokehold on oil and gas, tightening the chokehold on the Russian shadow fleet, keeping up that economic pressure with additional sanctions, and I hope to a maritime services ban as well. So we keep ramping up the pressure on Russia's economy. Their economy has already been heavily hit, but we need to keep that pressure up further.
So can we expect to see British forces boarding a Russian-linked shadow fleet vessel in the near future?
Well, we've already provided support where it's been needed.
That's us doing it.
We've already been providing support where it is needed for action against the Russian shadow fleet, and we will continue to do so. We will continue to look at what are the best and most effective ways, including our role as part of that process, to make sure we can maintain that pressure and take action against the shadow fleet. So
that's not a no.
It's that we will look continually at every opportunity that we can to put pressure on the shadow fleet.
Mr. Van Weel, we've obviously talked about what the Europeans are thinking in terms of this coalition of the willing, but the elephant in the room, of course, is the American backstop, the US security guarantees. Like, how important are they for this proposal to be credible, or could the Europeans do it on their own if, given we've had all this friction with that transatlantic relationship, if it does all really blow up badly?
Well, first of all, let me echo the others in saying that the bravery of Ukraine, the Ukrainian people, and you in person as well, Andrii, in keeping this Russian aggression off at a distance for 4 years is really admirable. And I think that over the past 4 years, and let me be very open and frank here, we've probably